Hi, I'm Kelsey.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to the soothing sounds of Delilah.
And that is Delilah, also known as Alex.
I'm Alex.
And this is The Hills Are Alive, a movie musical podcast, where we discuss in detail.
Wait, who are you?
I already said I'm Kelsey.
Oh, okay, cool.
You were, interrupting me with your Delilah talk.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed, actually. This is where we discuss musicals in great detail, and we go through it all. We go through the plot, we give our review, we sometimes talk about recasting,
History.
and trivia.
Exactly.
Lots of trivia.
And this season we've been doing a movie musical for each decade, starting in the 30s, and we have made our way to the 80s.
The 80s. And before we say which one we're doing, just as a reminder, you can find us on Instagram at The Hills Are Alive Pod. So, for the 1980s,
Yes.
would you like to announce?
We are doing, you already know because it's the title of the episode, Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, I always forget about that. Spoiler.
The Ashman and Menken Off-Broadway classic.
Off-Off Broadway.
Off-Off.
Now, well, I don't know about right now, but it did eventually make it to Broadway, but not until almost 20 years after the movie was released.
Well, it was Howard Ashman's intent for it to never go to Broadway.
Oops.
Oops.
It was directed by Frank Oz. Most of you probably recognize that name. If you don't already know who he is the guy behind many Muppets. Not many miniature Muppets, but multiple Muppet characters.
Yes.
He was the original Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, Animal, Sam Eagle. He was also a bunch of Sesame Street characters, including Cookie Monster, Bert, and Grover.
And part of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, that if you don't know him from Muppets, you definitely know him, or you at least know his voice as Yoda.
Anything puppet related?
He was probably
a
involved,
part of it. Yeah.
Which is interesting because he never wanted to be a puppeteer. He met Jim Henson when he was 19, and he was working at this place called Children's Fairyland of Oakland. I guess Henson was working there too, and they were part of a puppet troupe called the Vagabond Puppets. And then a year later, Henson asked, "Do you want to come work with me on this project?" And the rest is history. He spent the next 30 years doing puppet stuff.
Yeah.
And then when he retired, he said, "I never wanted to do that." Not that he hated it, but he always really wanted to be more of a director.
I love when he showed up in real acting roles. Do you remember him in the movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and
I
Dan
didn't
Aykroyd?
see it, but I know what you're talking about.
He plays a cop.
Oh, really?
He is admitting Dan Aykroyd to booking him basically, and they had planted a bag of drugs on him, and he says, "This is PCP, angel dust. You see what this stuff does to kids?" Anyway.
I don't think I would even recognize him, and I say that after having looked at multiple pictures of him over the past week.
You would probably recognize him if you closed your eyes and listened to his voice. He has a more recognizable voice than face, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Other notable movies that he did that don't involve puppets include Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, one of my favorites, What About Bob? And another one of my favorites, Death at a Funeral. So, yeah, dark comedy, that's what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
Dark musical comedy. Little Shop of Horrors.
And, it's supposed to be a satire of the traditional musical, but also a satire of horror monster movies and,
Sure.
Howard Ashman actually said out a satire of Faust, this.
I really love this movie. I love it as a musical. I love it as a comedy. I love it as a movie in general. I think that this is a musical for everyone. If you don't like musicals, you should still really see this movie. It is a musical. You cannot say it's not a musical, but I would almost call it a comedy before I'd call it a musical.
Yeah, sure.
Because all of the songs are funny. And it's not as earnest necessarily as many musicals can be.
They're comedy songs, and that's I was watching this interview with Howard Ashman, who he wrote the whole adaptation from the 1960 movie, which was not a musical. So he wrote it and directed it, wrote all the lyrics, and Alan Menken wrote the music. But he said that the reason why he thought it was as successful as it was because these are accessible pop songs. It's not like an operetta. It's not, everything isn't so, the thing that he compared it to is West Side Story, where everything is so serious. And
right. It is not that.
It's not melodrama.
There's no dancing gangs.
Yes.
No ballet in the streets of Skid Row.
Nothing about this takes itself seriously, which is why people loved it so much.
For those of you that haven't seen it, almost all of the songs are in the 1960s girl group kind of style.
Yeah, to the point where one of the characters is named Ronette.
All of them are named after girl groups.
Yeah.
It's
Chiffon, Ronette.
And Crystal. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I liked that little reference.
Yeah.
It was produced by David Geffen of the Geffen Company. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are familiar with them. Here's an interesting piece of trivia, actually, before I move too far away from the director. Guess who was originally slated to direct this movie? You will never guess. I'll just tell you.
Okay.
Martin Scorsese. And he wanted to do it in 3D.
And have Audrey too, like...
Yeah, but apparently...
coming out of the screen.
So the first writer of the 1960 movie... Now, this isn't verified. I read it on Wikipedia, and they did not have a source.
Uh-oh.
So I want that out there. We don't know if it's true. But rumor has it that the first writer, Charles B. Griffith, sued some copyright infringement, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. And obviously that didn't preclude the movie from happening, but it stalled things so much that Scorsese wound up, committed to other pictures.
Otherwise, yes.
And when he was going to be the director, actually Spielberg was going to be the producer. But again, things slowed down and it just never came to fruition.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Can you imagine?
Not really. I mean, I'm sure it would be good. It's just like the whole thing of this movie and the musical itself is sort of like, making gold out of a turd, You
just said turd.
Well, I don't know, what is polishing it? No, that's a different thing. Because, the original show was like in this like rundown theater that Howard Ashman owned because they couldn't get it to be produced in any other like off-Broadway theater.
It was really off Broadway.
Off Broadway. Yeah. And but but that became like part of the allure of it was.
It was almost as though they made it to become a cult classic. Right. They never wanted it to be mainstream.
Right. But once it got picked up by actual off Broadway and went to the Orpheum.
Yeah.
And then to West End as well. Guess who produced it on the West End?
Oh, was it Andrew Lloyd Webber?
No.
Oh, was
the other one? Cameron McIntosh.
Oh, right. Okay. We covered who produced and directed. I think you mentioned screenplays by Howard Ashman and music by Miles Goodman and songs by Alan Menken. Starring Rick Moranis as our main character Seymour. Mm-hmm. Ellen Greene as Audrey 1.
Reprising her role from theater.
From the theater, from the stage. Only person to reprise the role. Mm-hmm. Vincent Gardenia plays Mr. Mushnick. He joked that the only reason he got cast was because of his name. How can he not make that joke?
I saw that at the... it's like Gardenia. He's the plant shop owner.
I mean, it's perfect. Mm-hmm. Steve Martin in a wonderful performance.
As or in The Dentist.
Yes, and featuring the voice of Levi Stubbs as Audrey 2.
Who was from the Four Tops.
Yes. The movie, even though it was never meant to be a big mainstream popular hit, they did turn a profit at the box office. Cost them $25 million to make. They saw $39 million in box office sales. Mm-hmm. Also, I know we say this a lot, but apparently this was, at the time, the biggest budget movie that Warner Brothers had ever made. In fact, they shot the movie at Pinewood Studios in England. Mm-hmm. At the same time, Aliens was shooting across the lot.
Oh.
Aliens budget was only $18 million.
Really?
Yeah.
Aliens. So the second movie?
I think, and that's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think the first one was like 1980, so yeah.
Yeah. So isn't that wild?
That's crazy.
You'd think a movie like Aliens would require millions
it's fucking
more.
James Cameron, king of making the most expensive movies ever.
Are you so excited for Avatar 2?
Yeah, I've been waiting with bated breath for
10 years.
It's been longer, hasn't it? It's been like 12.
Probably. Yeah, I can't get over the fact that they're still, like, pursuing this and that they're still using that stupid font.
Have you seen? Yes, I was about
Papyrus.
to say Papyrus. Just look up Ryan Gosling SNL
Oh, that's
Papyrus.
right. It was a Ryan Gosling. Yeah. Great sketch. Or film bit. Anyways.
So, moderate success at the box office. Eventually gained huge cult status, as, you know, most of the movies that we discuss that weren't immediately successful
don't become successful.
Well, eventually do, you know.
I don't know.
As far as, like, The Wiz, like, wasn't successful, became a huge cult classic.
Yeah, I guess so.
We've discussed, I mean.
Should we... I don't know. Should we jump in? I've got lots and lots of trivia, but I feel like it's probably easier to just hit on it as we work our way through the plot.
Sure.
Although, why don't we go ahead and do this?
Yeah.
Do you have a letter grade?
I'm gonna go for an A.
Yeah, I'm giving it an A.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just a lot of fun.
It's so much fun. The music is so good.
It's only 90 minutes.
Yeah. And to have an opening number like Skid Row is just like, it's so good and just introduces the characters wonderfully.
When we open, we first see the girls, the chorus. This is who we mentioned earlier, Ronette, Crystal, and Chiffon.
Yeah.
And
they're like a trio of like a girl group.
I mean, they're a classic Greek chorus.
Exactly.
They're always there to sort of navigate the plot and introduce new scenes and people.
And
to
sort of discuss the morality of what's going on and like kind of be like not only be the voice to the audience, but also kind of be an inner monologue for the characters too, you know, to like discuss what they might be,
right,
what dilemmas they might be going through morally.
And they have also counterpart characters. So we most often see them in girl group form, but every now and then they show up as like street urchins.
Yeah.
And in those scenes, they actually interact with the characters, whereas when they're the chorus, it appears as though the characters are oblivious to them. But when they are acting as characters and interacting with the other cast members, yeah, I get what you're saying about their sort of stand-ins for the voice of reason and morality.
Yeah.
And yeah. So we open with them outside of this flower shop located on the corner of a very dirty street.
And what's funny about the Frank Oz connection here is that it sort of starts with this kind of Star Wars spoof of like...
Oh, that's right, it does.
The like background for the story coming through,
goes,
scrolling on text.
On the 23rd day of the month of September, in an early year of a decade not that long ago.
Yeah.
Something like, it's very, like, cumbersome. It is pretty funny. Yeah, we get the scrolling text. And it's largely pointless, so it's definitely just setting you up to know this is a funny movie.
Right.
And when we hit our stage scene, we're on just like a gross, dirty street. They take us inside this flower shop that is completely run down. You don't even see any flowers in it.
There's not really any plants in it, yeah.
It's very brown and dull and drabby. And this is where we first see Mr. Mushnick, the flower shop owner, reading his paper, and we meet Seymour. What's his last name? Seymour Crow.
Oh, it's like I don't remember.
I think it starts with a K.
Yeah, it's like Krellborn. Krellborn. Yeah, something like that.
And he's Seymour.
Yeah.
We see Seymour downstairs, just like just being a nerdy klutz.
And Mushkin is, or Mushnick is yelling at him. And he's like, "Oh yes, sir." He's very like timid and pushover.
So while Seymour is downstairs, he turns on the radio, and we hear that there was a mysterious full solar eclipse, unexpected, that occurred the Thursday before. And minor detail, but I really appreciated this. When he turns the radio on, you actually hear the speaker on the radio finishing the last story. It doesn't turn on to like the immediate story that everybody's interested in, because that's not how it works.
That's not how radio works.
I know, and it just always bugs me how in movies and TV they turn the news on and they're just like immediately talking about the thing that we need to know.
Starting at the beginning of what you need to know about.
Yeah, and it's just like half a sentence, but I noticed it and I appreciated it.
Yeah. At this point, Audrey shows up for work. She also works at the flower shop.
Sort of.
Yes.
Yeah. She's like showing up at the very end of the day for her morning shift.
And she's supposed to be this sort of tragic Skid Row character. What was it? JJ watched this with me. My husband watched this with me the other night, and he was doing the voice. I think it's towards the end when she slaps Seymour, and she goes, "Seymour, you're hysterical."
I can absolutely hear JJ saying that in my head. Seymour. But yeah, we get from this interaction that she is in an abusive relationship.
Yeah, she has a black eye.
Yeah, and that's essentially why she's late, because her boyfriend has roughed her up again. Seymour comes in, and he actually comments how she looks radiant.
He said about her black eye, he says, "Is that new eye makeup?"
Yeah, I thought that was cute.
Yeah.
I mean, he's helpless. And this is where the Crystal Runner and Chiffon characters are introduced as their alter egos.
They sort of just walk by on the street, right?
Yeah. It took me a minute. I had to make sure that was like, I had to pause it and look it up to make sure I wasn't being like super racist.
Yeah.
Are these three black women the only other black women that we've seen so far?
3 black women must be them.
But they were.
They were.
It was. And yeah, so now we're going into Skid Row. Super fun song. The chorus, the girls as the chorus, and the community are basically just singing about how shitty it is there. Yeah. But hey, it's home.
And the girls are sort of taking you on this tour of Skid Row while everybody is having their little solos.
For me, it gave me very strong Les Mis vibes.
Yes, at the end of the day.
Yeah, when, again, it's just people who are sad and filthy singing about how much their home sucks.
Right. At the end of the day, you're another day older. And that's all you can say for the life of the poor. And this is where we get our first glimpse of this sort of like powerhouse voice that Audrey has with her little solo in the Skid Row.
I don't know if I like particularly noticed that, to tell you the truth. I think these songs are meant to be easy to sing. There's songs that I think just about anybody could sing along with. I don't say that to minimize the talent of everybody participating.
Yeah. Well, like, I get what you're saying, because, for instance, like in Suddenly Seymour, it's Ellen Greene, who's a fantastic singer, can sing it very well, but so can Rick Moranis.
I know, and I was really surprised, because in this first song, I was thinking to myself, I'm glad that they let Rick Moranis just sort of be Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
He does have a good voice, and it's clear he can carry a tune, but his first lines are kind of that talk-singy sort of vibe.
Yeah.
That sort of sound. And so I was just sort of thinking, like, oh, good. I'm glad they're not trying to, like, force, like Johnny Depp, whenever he sang in Sweeney Todd, I just remember thinking, like, Johnny Depp is not a singer. Why do they force this to happen?
Right.
And, like,
Russell
Crowe, yeah, essentially. Yeah, but later on, we do see that Rick Moranis really can sing.
He can sing, and it's not forced, and it's, like, obviously not, like, a trained singer, but it doesn't seem like they're forcing him into, like...
It's not strained at all.
No.
Yeah. But especially now that I've learned that she was the Broadway or the Off-Off Broadway, whatever, the stage actress as well. I mean, that obviously suggests that she does have very powerful vocals.
Well, just the fact that she can go from Seymour to her, like, this belting voice is like...
I would love to hear, and I didn't see any like videoed interviews, but I would love to hear what her actual natural
how she actually talks.
Speaking voice
Yeah, that would be interesting.
So in this song, it's 6:00 They haven't had a single sale all day long. Mr. Mushnick tells Seymour and Audrey, don't even bother coming in tomorrow.
Yeah, go home. Don't come in tomorrow. We don't have any business. He's thinking about closing, basically.
Yeah, and that's when Seymour says, but wait, I have an idea. He wants to take the shop in a new direction. And in order to do that, he runs down and he says, I've got this plant. I've got this super weird plant. I think if we put it in the window, it's going to draw customers in.
What about that weird plant you've been working on?
It's highly unusual. I have a feeling, even if you haven't seen this movie, you know what the plant looks like.
Yeah.
It's essentially, like, at this point, it's just a little baby. But it is a big old Venus flytrap kind of looking thing.
And when they first built the puppet for the stage, they said that they wanted it to be like a giant Venus flytrap meets an avocado.
Oh, that is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great description. Yeah, I like that. Seymour brings it up. He says that he's named it Audrey 2 after Audrey, and she seems flattered.
And it's an ongoing joke in the show that, like, people aren't putting together that it's named after Audrey. Yeah. Like, even her boyfriend is like, interesting name. You're just like...
Well, and he is supposed to be
dumb.
An idiot.
Yeah.
The thing I love most about this scene is as soon as they stick it in the window...
And did you see who that is?
I know. It's Christopher Guest. I did not recognize him. It's been a long time since I saw a young Christopher Guest, even though I do watch Waiting for Guffman.
But he's so heavily made up. And
what's it called? Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
Every so often. But yeah, I didn't recognize
he's
him
sort
at
of
all.
a shapeshifter, like...
Absolutely.
When you put him in makeup and costume and hair and stuff.
He is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love a good cameo.
And even in, like, he's even unrecognizable in, like, Princess Bride.
Have we not talked about this?
You haven't seen it?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's like the one I haven't seen. Anyways.
So we go into the song Doo-Doo, or is it Doo-Doo? Doo-Doo?
Doo-Doo and Grow on Me.
Yes.
Grow for Me.
Which is basically the story of how Seymour came to be in possession of this plant.
Yeah, essentially we learn that he was just walking down the street one day. He went down to the Chinese flower shop where he often finds unusual plant varieties. And he didn't see anything good that day. So he was about to leave, but then the eclipse happened.
Right.
And
which he looked at directly.
He looked at directly. It was totally unexpected. Nobody knew this eclipse was coming. I don't know if you guys were able to watch the eclipse a few years ago.
But everybody knew it was coming.
Yeah, and did not stop talking about it for a long time.
Yeah.
And it was neat. But anyways, I can imagine that an unexpected eclipse would be slightly terrifying, but everybody seems to just move on from it. After the sunlight returns... all of a sudden, there is an interesting plant that he notices.
And what we've seen that he hasn't is that it's sort of like shot there with a laser beam.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't really know how he thought it got there.
Yeah.
I guess I wouldn't have made the connection between an eclipse and a plant. I probably just overlooked.
Yeah, I wouldn't assume aliens. But
yeah. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So that's where he gets the plant from. He brings it back. Everybody at the flower shop is now on board, but they need him to keep the plant healthy. They need it to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. So he takes it downstairs. Yes. And he's trying to give it plant food, and it's cute. It's really cute at this little teeny tiny baby stage because it like. And this is the genius of Frank Oz. It's just amazing how a plant that doesn't have any facial features whatsoever at this point, you can actually see it communicating with Seymour. Like when he tries to offer it different forms of food, it just sort of like slumps over and looks sad. Yeah. Until he accidentally pricks his finger on a rose thorn. Right. And the plant suddenly perks up.
Yeah. And he starts sucking on his finger.
That's right.
And so then the
plant starts making the same noise.
Yeah, which is gross. Just
I know, it's like suckling.
Yeah.
Ew.
And eventually Seymour puts it together that he's like mimicking the sucking sound because he wants the blood from his finger as well.
So he decides to appease the plant, which he has started affectionately calling Tui. he decides to give him some blood.
And at this point, he's singing the song "Grow for Me."
Yes. Mm-hmm. In the next scene, we meet Seymour and Tui in a recording studio for WSKID Skid Row Radio.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, it's grown.
It's grown a little bit.
The blood has given it the fuel to grow a little bit.
Yes. And they are about to appear on Wink Wilkinson's Weird World. Wink is played by John Candy.
Yep.
They actually first offered John Candy the role of Mushnik, which, anytime I see John Candy, I love it.
I love it.
So I would have loved to see more John Candy in this movie. However, I thought giving him the role of Wink, Weird Wink, was kind of cool too. It made it more of a cameo, and like I said, I love a good cameo.
Yeah.
But before they get in and start talking to him on the show, the plant does something kind of important. There's a lady that works for the radio station. She walks over and says, "You're on next," and she bends over a desk to look at a paper or something. And again, this is just like more really great moments from Frank Oz. The plant, basically her butt is right in the plant and Seymour's face. And Seymour, a respectful gentleman, doesn't even notice. Mm-hmm. But the plant is looking at it, and then it's like, it looks up at Seymour, almost as if to say, like, are you seeing this right now? And then it realizes, like, nope, he doesn't. And so the plant starts going in for a bite. For
a little nibble.
Right. And not in a sexual way. It's in a I need to eat people way.
Yes, right.
And again, like, the plant doesn't really have any facial features at this point, so I'm just always impressed when they're able to give, like, a level of communication.
Just through the movement of, of the puppet.
Yeah. They go in, they record with Wink Wilkinson, and I don't know, what happens next?
What I have next is that the girls are trying to tell Audrey to dump her boyfriend and go for Seymour.
Yeah, outside, they run into Audrey. They can tell she's had a rough night. Mm-hmm. She tries to justify her boyfriend, whose name is Oren. She tries to justify his behaviors in all sorts of ways. The girls are trying to convince her, you gotta leave this guy.
Yeah. And at this point, we find out that she actually does have feelings for Seymour.
Right, but she's afraid of leaving her current boyfriend.
And she thinks that she's not good enough for Seymour.
Yes, the girls point out she's got self-esteem problems. Mm-hmm. And we do learn that she is, I think with good reason, afraid of what his reaction will be.
Yeah.
The boyfriend's reaction will be. She says something like, if this is how he treats me when he likes me, imagine what he would do if he's angry. And, the way we're talking about it makes it sound really serious because, to be clear, domestic violence is always really serious. Mm-hmm. But it's really treated as, they're not treating domestic violence as a joke, but...
They're treating the trope as a joke.
The trope as a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I could say that, or I could see that. I don't know. I don't really know what to take of it, because the fact of the matter is, when we do meet the boyfriend, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious how many lengths they go to make us want to hate him.
Yes.
So I guess in that sense, I can see they're making a joke of the whole trope of the battered woman. That's
part of, what's funny about the evolution of how this, how the movie came from the show, came from the other movie, was that Oren wasn't originally supposed to be abusive, and Seymour was supposed to be this sort of like Faustian character who, was so concerned with money and physical thing. What am I trying to say? With
material
money and material things, that he went to this length to do that by like killing people, and he originally killed a lot more people and actually dies at the end.
Yeah, so, and we need to talk about the alternate, or the original ending for this movie, which does stick a lot more closely. It closely follows the stage production. Also, in the very first movie, The Little Shop of Horrors, Audrey is not dating the dentist, at least not in the synopsis that I read.
Yeah.
The only way the dentist is really related to the whole thing is, you remember at some point in this movie, Seymour messes up an order for a funeral for a big family.
Yeah.
Because Mr. Mushnick makes a joke about how, like, there's a ton of them and they're all dying and we're about to lose our best clients.
Yeah.
In the first movie, that happens earlier on, and he's messed up the order for the dentist. And so then later, he's got a toothache, and he has to go see the dentist. And because the dentist in that one is also a sadist, he's mad at Seymour and tries to kill him.
Yeah.
Whereas they get Seymour to the dentist office in this one, but it takes a totally different path.
Yeah.
And again, it's mostly because the dentist is dating Audrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's less clear in this film adaptation of it that, like, the original was supposed to sort of be like a scathing rebuke of capitalism and, like, what lengths people will go to
I did not pick up on that in this one. I didn't really think it related to capitalism at all. In fact, one could argue, well, I'm not going to be the one, but the end goal for Seymour and Audrey is
to run away and have a small life.
I was going to say the quintessential American dream.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, in a way, capitalism, is it not?
Right.
You know?
Well, that's the thing. Like, her I Want song is about...
You mean her I Dreamed a Dream song?
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's where we are in the plot.
Yeah.
So why don't we go ahead and talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
After the girls tell her, you need a new man and you need to fix your self-esteem, she goes inside and sings about how she knows that Seymour is a good guy but thinks that he's way too good for her. And all she dreams about is having... a little ranch cottage with a perfectly manicured lawn.
Plastic on the furniture.
Yeah, plastic on the furniture. Pine Sol scented air. There's even, like, little cartoon birds that help her in the kitchen and Tupperware parties.
I cook like Betty Crocker and I look like Donna Reed.
Oh, and there's a shot of their two children who are just, like, perfect miniature versions of them that made me laugh a lot. So it's established what Audrey wants, what her hopes and dreams are. And then we pretty much immediately go into another song.
Some fun now.
And this is the only one that kind of does... Well, it's not the only one, but it is one of the only ones that doesn't really keep the classic pop sound. It's got kind of like a calypso vibe. I think there's even some steel drums in there. It's got an islandy sort of fun vibe to it because like you said, it's called Some Fun Now.
Yeah.
And we see that things are just going pretty well for Seymour. He's found a lot of success with Audrey, too.
Yeah, he's still using his own blood. And is it at this point that all of his fingers have Band-Aids on them?
Many of them do. Yeah, so he's suffering, clearly, but things are going well. Things are on the up and up. Business is booming. Yeah, he's starting to sort of flail.
Well, the plant is like almost the size of a human at this point.
The plant has gotten real big. This is the scene where Seymour forgets to do the arrangement for, I think they said his name is Mr. Shiva. And so he asks Audrey to help him put one together really quick, and it's so funny.
She just goes, lilies.
Like, well, she takes lilies. She sprays them with adhesive.
And glitter.
And then just like...
throws
just like little spritzes of glitter. I've never once received... glittered lilies.
It's a bad arrangement.
Friends, take note.
It's not really an arrangement because it's just one type of flower loosely
with
in
glitter.
A vase with glitter on it.
It cracks me up. I want those flowers. While she's helping him out, Audrey, ironically comments that Seymour has a low self-image, and that
he should go get some new clothes.
Yeah, he needs to treat himself.
Yeah.
And she even offers to help him shop for new clothes. And so you can tell that they are really hitting it off. Things are building, and they're both very excited. But she can't help him out tonight because she's got a date.
She always has a date.
She always has a date with her boyfriend. Mr. Mushnick comes in just to vocalize his objections. He doesn't like this guy. He says, what kind of a professional drives a motorcycle and wears a black leather jacket? And then we cut to Steve Martin.
Yes.
Riding his motorcycle, laughing sort of maniacally in his black leather jacket. And he's got this ridiculous black wig. I think even at this point in Steve Martin's career, like, he had gray or white hair. So
Yes.
to see him with that pitch black hair itself is just hysterical.
It's a sight gag, and I think it's supposed to be.
Oh, but it works so well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you guys, but pretty much I just have to see Steve Martin and I'm laughing. But in this scene in particular, yeah, the sight gag, as you called it, they just nailed it.
And this is the song Dentist with an exclamation mark, right? Dentist.
So Oren, and I he has a last name, but I don't remember it. This song is from him, and he's singing about how he always wanted to be a dentist because he's always loved inflicting pain.
Yeah.
And as he's singing, he's like accidentally running into the nurse and beating up on patients. And
He's also high. He's also addicted to laughing gas, like,
yeah.
which, yeah.
Yes. And he keeps a shrine of his dead mother in his dental office. And the picture is very much a man. I tried to find out who it was.
Yeah.
I could only find one even mention of it, and it was on IMDb trivia, which, in my opinion, is not always the best.
Right.
This person said that it was Henry Jones, who was an old veteran actor. He appeared in like over 300 pieces of film or television. I couldn't find any verification of that. I mean, it does look like that actor, Henry Jones, but I couldn't figure out what was his connection to Little Shop. So I don't know if that's supposed to mean anything, but you kind of have to think it does.
Yeah.
Anyways, if anybody knows, like Steve Martin, if you're listening.
Yeah, slide into our DMs.
Frank Oz.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, it's established Oren's the worst.
Yeah, and there's this also more puppet work. There's this shot from inside of this huge puppet mouth.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it did not originate on this show, but if you guys ever watched Good Eats with Alton Brown on the Food Network back in the day, but he would always do shots from like inside his refrigerator or inside his oven, and I always thought that was neat, so I call it the Alton Brown Good Eats shot.
And it's gross but cool. The shot, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Back at the flower shop, Seymour is emptying out some pots when he hears some strange laughter coming from the alley. It's Oren. He's arriving on his motorcycle. Who is it that he runs? Is it Audrey or Seymour? He runs into one of them, and he's just laughing, and he's like, relax, want some nitrous oxide?
I think it's Seymour.
Yeah. Suit yourself. Like I said earlier, he is comically over the top mean to Audrey. At this point, I think it's clear to everyone, like, oh, this dude is gonna get it from the plant, for sure.
And I think that Oren sees Audrey too. They are in the same room together at some point during this interaction. Yeah. This will come up in just a minute. Because Audrey too knows who Oren is now.
Right.
And that is when Oren leaves, is when Audrey 2 starts talking for the first time.
Yeah, and Audrey 2 has gotten massive at this point, like much bigger than a person.
Yeah.
And we go into the song, Feed Me, Get It, in parentheses.
Basically begging Seymour to find him human.
He says, must be blood, must be fresh.
Yes.
And this song, this is another one where it doesn't totally maintain the 60s pop vibe. It's sort of more of a quintessential rock vibe than like the 60s pop vibe. And that really only shows up for Audrey 2's song. And I think that's intentional for his songs to be otherworldly. By the end of this song, Toohey has tried to persuade Seymour to continue giving him the human blood and flesh that he needs. He says he can get him anything he wants, even Audrey, if he'll just bring him humans to eat.
Yeah. And they sort of come to the conclusion, and this is when Audrey, too, is like, Oren's a bad guy. Like, you could feed me him.
Yeah. Because Seymour is objecting, and then Oren appears again. And, he sort of nudges. And what does he say? Like, the guy sure looks like plant food to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we cut back to the dentist office, and we get another great cameo from Bill Murray.
Yes. He is the masochist to Steve Martin's sadist.
Right. Which actually pisses the sadist off because he likes it too much. But so a few things about this. Number one, surprisingly, this is the only time that Bill Murray and Steve Martin appear on screen together.
Ever?
Yeah. Like, they may have been in another movie together. I couldn't think of any examples. But as far as being on screen, interacting with each other.
Yeah.
Only time.
On the big screen. They were probably shared the small screen on SNL or something.
Maybe. Were they even on at the same time? I don't know either.
Yeah.
I mean, I love SNL, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't alive back then.
Same.
Bill Murray, another interesting thing here, he ad-libbed all of his lines in this. They were all improvised. And one last note before we can continue on. In the 1960 film,
it was
Jack Nicholson.
Yes.
It was his third role ever, I think. And the fact that he was in it helped turn the earlier film into its own kind of cult classic. The earlier film the story behind it is wild. They filmed it in like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
With a budget of $30,000.
Yeah.
Which, with inflation, I read in 2019, that would be like $250,000.
And I think that it was only possible. They used a set from another movie.
They did. They used a set from the movie A Bucket of Blood. And it was almost as though like they just wanted to like make full use of that set. So they're like, what can we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty impressive. It's definitely what you would call a B or a C or a D movie. But, like a true cult classic. Not to say that this isn't, but, just a movie that, like, only film nerds would know. But the fact that Jack Nicholson was in it, they were able to use that as a marketing device later on.
Legitimized it a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. So, back to Bill Murray. He, like you said, he is a total masochistic weirdo who's just, like, really excited to have dental work done. As he is waiting to go in the room, he hears screaming coming from the other patient, and he is more and more excited. As that patient finally walks out, she's wearing this, like, crazy metal contraption. And we have another cameo, and this is Heather Henson, Jim Henson's daughter.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if you can call it a cameo, because she's not recognizable.
Yeah.
She really didn't do much other on-camera work, but that is his daughter. So that's fun.
She's wearing like this huge headgear, and if it's like, and it's unclear because she's like screaming when she's coming out, and it's unclear whether she's like screaming for help or like trying to warn Bill Murray. And he's like, I know, it's great, isn't it? Like,
for someone who's not an actress, she does a really good job.
Yeah.
I would have been much too shy to do anything like that at her age. Let's see. Seymour sneaks in while Oren is working on Arthur. As I mentioned earlier, Oren is actually getting increasingly frustrated because he likes to hurt people and Arthur is enjoying it too much.
Right.
So he kicks him out.
But yeah, because of Bill Murray's like simulated orgasm.
I did not take it that way.
What? Really? He's like, oh, it's like.
I get, I mean, I don't know. My mind was not there. I'm not saying you're wrong. Maybe I'm not. I don't know.
It's right after that Oren's like, okay, this is even too weird for me. Get out of here.
Okay, if you say so. So Oren sees Seymour waiting when he kicks Arthur out.
He's brought a gun because his intention is to kill him and bring him back to
86 him real quick. While he's in the chair, another really funny moment from Steve Martin. He says, I find a little giggle gas before I begin increases my pleasure enormously. So he gets like super stoned.
He has this contraption that's supposed to like feed him
direct
gas
nitrous oxide
intermittently.
Yeah.
But
so
he gets basically so high that he can't turn it off.
it causes him to suffocate. And once it's clear that he's dead.
He's dead.
Seymour plans to remove his body and take it back to the flower shop. He tries to do it very sneakily and makes as much noise as possible.
And Mushnick...
He surprisingly, no one catches him until Mushnick comes around the shop and sees him chopping up the body.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know that Seymour didn't actually kill Orrin. I mean, at this point, what does it matter? Like, he was gonna kill.
Right.
I mean, we think he was going to. He may not have actually gone
Yeah, I
through
mean, he
with
did
it.
go with a gun, but, who knows?
Yeah.
But it's also, like, so many killers, their defense is always like, I didn't kill him, I just chopped him up.
Right. It's a different crime.
Isn't that what he said? Isn't that what's his name said? The Jinx?
Yeah, I think so. Robert Durst.
Robert Durst said about that roommate that he had.
Yeah, because it's the difference between, like, premeditated murder and improper disposal of a body.
Right.
Anyway. So yeah, Mushnick sees him, but he doesn't call him out right away. Later on, Seymour can't sleep. I mean, he's just up all night. Like,
yeah.
you can tell that he is really wrestling with his actions.
Yeah.
So in the morning, he goes upstairs. He sees Audrey talking to two police detectives across the street where she lives.
Yeah.
He goes out to ask what's going on, and Audrey tells him...
they say it could be foul play.
Yeah. Orrin has disappeared, and she's relieved, but she's also very scared that something really bad could have happened.
Right.
As awful as he is, she still hates to think that he could have gotten hurt, and she blames herself for wishing that something would happen to him to remove him from her life.
He asks her, he said, would it be that bad if something bad did happen? And she's
Right.
like, well, it would be a miracle. So obviously she wanted something to happen to him, but she also doesn't want to be responsible cosmically for something happening to him.
Yeah. I mean, she's very sweet deep down.
And this is where she said that it says that Orrin is the type of guy that she thinks that she deserves. She says that she deserves
A
Orrin.
terrible life, essentially.
Yeah.
So we hit, at this point, the big song.
The big song.
The ballad.
This is
Suddenly
when they're finally telling each other.
Revealing their love.
Exactly.
Yes.
And even before this song starts, Seymour says something very important, which is that he respects her.
Yeah, because the whole point is, like, Seymour is here for you. Seymour is your friend.
Yeah.
Not Seymour wants to, have lots of sex.
Yeah.
Babies.
Yeah.
That stuff. I don't know. Okay, let's move on.
I love this song. I don't particularly like the part of it where he's like talking about she needs to take off her makeup and blah blah blah. Like, she likes that stuff, but
well, when she's not using it to cover up her bruises.
Exactly.
Seymour returns back to the flower shop, and he is so head over heels for Audrey that he doesn't even notice that it's Audrey too that it's manipulating its vines to open the door for him, because he's just like floating, you know. Mr. Mushnick is there at the flower shop, though, waiting to confront Seymour about what he believes happened to Orrin. Seymour does admit to chopping him up, but again, I didn't kill him, I just chopped him up.
Yeah.
And Mushnick pulls a gun on him and demands that he go to the police. So then we get to supper time, another song, and essentially, well, first of all, I want to comment, like, don't you think the song kind of has like a disco-y vibe to it?
I don't remember
felt
how
like
it sounds. Yeah.
Well, ignore that then.
Okay.
At supper time, it's just about the plant wants to eat.
Yeah.
Mid-song, Mushnick actually proposes to Seymour, how about this? Since you are like a son to me, I won't force you to go to the police if you get out of town and you tell me how to take care of the plant so that I can keep profiting off of it.
Right.
At this point, we see the plant behind Mushnick. Obviously, it's got an appetite.
Yeah.
And
supper time.
Mushnick keeps moving backwards, closer and closer to Audrey 2 until Audrey 2 is able to just snatch him up.
Right. And again, it still wasn't Seymour who did anything. Although he could have said, like, hey, stop backing up, but whatever.
I mean, when Seymour realized the plant lives off of human blood, he could have just not given it blood. Yeah. But, a lot of things were on the line.
Again, Audrey 2 is his deal with the devil.
Hindsight is 20/20. So at this point, with Mushnick gone and the plant pretty happy, Seymour is rising to the top.
We're getting, all good things are happening. And I imagine that Seymour thinks that they're happening Audrey 2 is making them happen. Because Audrey 2 says, like, I can get you Audrey, I can get you success, blah, blah, blah. And all those things are happening.
Yes.
Because of the...
Everything he said would happen is happening.
Yes, exactly.
We go through a montage. We see that they want him on the cover of Life magazine.
Is this the Meek Shall Inherit?
Yes, hosting his own weekly gardening show. This is another pretty musically song, I would say. But it mostly just serves as the backdrop.
It's a spinning
to
newspaper
the montage.
Yeah.
So a news crew is at the shop to spotlight Seymour, but as they're filming, Audrey 2 completely wilts. And when it wilts, it just slumps over. Like, it's clear she needs... I kept calling it a she. I was very interchangeable between he, she, and it.
Yeah.
But the plant, Audrey 2... needs food, and Seymour becomes pretty distraught with all of the attention and just recognizing what's going on, and he kicks everybody out.
Yeah.
He really can't handle taking care of the plant and the moral repercussions and the media attention. It's all too much. Audrey shows up and she sort of slaps him out of it, but it's not really a slap. It's literally just Seymour, just a little tap.
You're hysterical.
Just a little boop.
You're hysterical.
It's like the opposite of that Cher scene. Snap
out of it.
Yeah, it's not that. He runs to the alley. Audrey follows behind him, tries to cheer him up.
And she says that the TV men are bringing back money. They can take that money and run away.
Yeah, so he realizes, okay, this is their chance.
Yeah.
If they're going to come tomorrow with this big check, like Audrey says, then we could escape. So he proposes. He asks her to marry him. She accepts. And he says, let's go do it right away. We'll go to City Hall, and then tomorrow we'll leave forever. So Audrey runs off to go pack her bags and get on a white dress.
Yeah.
And Seymour, in turn, goes to pack his things, and he tries to sneak out without Audrey 2 spotting him. But, of course, it doesn't go that way. Audrey 2 spots him and demands, feed me.
And he says, I'm just going to run to the butcher for some ground round.
And while he's away, Audrey 2 manages to
make a phone call.
Yeah, he uses his vines to first go to the cash register. And he takes out a quarter. And then he goes to the payphone and he puts the quarter in and he makes a phone call to Audrey 1. And I thought he was going to do a voice, do something to disguise that it's the plant. But no, he's like, look out the window.
Like,
it's
here
me.
I am, baby.
So Audrey agrees to come over and he hangs up the payphone and then, of course, checks to see if there was any change that comes back. But Audrey comes over and Audrey 2 tries to talk her into giving it a drink. At this point, she doesn't know what that means.
Yeah.
And he wraps his vines around Audrey and pulls her closer and closer. And then she's halfway in his mouth before Seymour comes back in.
Yeah, and he's able to wrestle her out of the mouth.
Just in time. And Seymour explains everything, says at first everything was great. And he says he had to keep it up because the plant made Audrey like him, like Seymour. And of course, she stops him and says, I've liked you all along.
Yeah.
It's very cute.
And is this where they do Suddenly
the reprise,
Seymour?
of Suddenly Seymour.
And this is where we have another cameo, but I guess he might not have been very well known at this time. But
I think he was.
Jim Belushi.
Yeah, it's Jim Belushi. And, the role was originally played by somebody else, whose name I forget. Sorry. I want to say his last name is Dooley. Anyways, he was not available for reshoots, so they had to reshoot his entire role with Jim Belushi.
Yeah.
So he is thanked. The original actor gets a special thanks in the credits.
Oh.
On the director's cut release of this movie on DVD, they actually included the original actor and switched it and give a special thanks to Jim Belushi.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
James Belushi, as he's credited.
So he shows up as Patrick Martin, and he is a licensing and marketing agent for World Botanical Enterprises.
Has all of these money-making ideas.
He wants to grow and breed little Audrey 2s and sell them worldwide.
There'll be one in every household.
Seymour obviously sees this cannot happen.
Yeah.
And he runs off and resolves to kill Audrey 2 before anybody else gets hurt. So Seymour confronts Audrey 2, and Seymour accuses Audrey 2 of wanting world domination all along, to which Seymour replies, "No shit, Sherlock."
Audrey 2 replies.
Audrey 2 replies.
Yeah.
And he sings their original song for the film, the obligatory original song, Mean Green Mother from Outer Space.
Yes.
And this is where they just explain that he's from outer space.
And this further confuses Audrey 2's gender. Because usually in this context, like, I'm a mean green mother, it's like, is this short for motherfucker?
Yeah, motherfucker.
Or now Audrey 2 has all these little babies.
Yeah, like imagine a spider plant and how it always makes those stupid little babies. Like that's what Audrey 2 has done.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they are a motherfucker, but also a mother of lots of little babies.
Sure. Yeah. What gender is your spider plant?
She, them.
So the fun thing about all the little plant babies is that they do know how to harmonize. Mm-hmm. It's lovely. While Seymour is not looking, Audrey 2... Oh, you're right. So, okay, sorry. Back up. Seymour brings out the gun.
Yes.
But while he's, like, kind of distracted by the harmonizing plant babies, Audrey 2 manages to
get the gun.
And then the plant is shooting at him. And Seymour gets the axe and is chopping at it. And it's just pandemonium. But Audrey 2 continues to grow stronger and stronger until its vines burst out of the walls, causing the building to collapse.
He pulls out a support beam.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everything comes crashing down, exposing some live wires, which Seymour smartly grabs and uses it to electrocute Audrey 2 until it just explodes into smithereens.
Yes.
Audrey the girl, has been watching across the street the whole time. Mm-hmm. She runs over and she's looking for Seymour.
And he appears from the dust and rubble.
From the rubble.
Yes.
Unharmed, unscathed.
Uh-huh.
They marry.
They end up in the actual fantasy house that she had fantasized about.
The suburban ranch cottage.
With the fence of real chain link.
And one little surprise.
One little shot at the end.
A little Audrey 2 has managed to survive and follow them all the way to suburbia.
Uh-huh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Fan.
Yeah.
It's just such a fun watch. I mean, it
is such a fun watch.
And guess what, Kelsey?
What?
This movie is only about 93 minutes long.
I know, we already said that. The other good news is, as of this recording in June 2022, it is on HBO Max.
It is, yeah.
So if you've got that, highly recommend that you go watch it while you can. I have no idea how long it will be on there for.
Also watch Howard on Disney+.
Also streaming currently is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Just kidding. I mean, watch it if you want to, but we're not going to talk about it. So I'm just going to dive real quick into Academy Awards and Golden Globes. I mentioned Mean Green Mother from Outer Space was their obligatory entry for Best Original Song. Mm-hmm. Did not win. The winner, I mean, this was a tough year. The winner was Take My Breath Away from Top Gun.
Oh.
So, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Also nominated that year was your song, yours and Jordan's song.
Somewhere Out There?
Somewhere Out There from An American Tale, Fievel Goes West.
Yes.
This is the classic Alex and his sister Jordan karaoke number.
Yes.
Speaking of harmonizing,
Right.
you guys sound even better than the Plant Babies.
So what won?
Take My Breath Away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Take My Breath Away won. There were a couple other nominees that I don't really recognize. Glory of Love from The Karate Kid Part 2. And something called Life in a Looking Glass from the movie That's Life.
Didn't Rocky IV come out this year too, or is that the next year?
I did not see Rocky in any. I only read a few categories.
I bet Eye of the Tiger would have been nominated.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't think it was this year then. It was also nominated for Best Visual Effects. No surprise here, Aliens wound up winning that one. Other notable nominee would have been Poltergeist 2. Again, I didn't recognize. Or actually, excuse me, no, on this one there were only 3 nominees.
Yeah.
So, Poltergeist 2, Aliens, the winner, and our movie, Little Shop.
Yeah.
Golden Globes. It was nominated for Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. It was up against Hannah and Her Sisters, Crimes of the Heart, Crocodile Dundee, Down and Out in Beverly Hills, and Peggy Sue Got Married.
I'm guessing that Hannah and Her Sisters won.
Correct.
Okay.
It was also nominated for Best Original Score. This one was interesting. The other nominees included Top Gun, Round Midnight, The Mosquito Coast, and The Mission. And The Mission won. I don't know what that is.
But the Top Gun music is so iconic at this point.
This is for score, not song.
But I mean the score, the
Okay, I haven't seen Top Gun either. So there are numerous movies from the 80s that I never got around to seeing. I'm working on it.
To your credit, I was the youngest of 4, and they were all like well older than me, so like
you were exposed to these movies. Yes. I've got some more trivia, but is there anything else you want to tell us about the stage show?
Well, there's a couple of things. Well, first of all, was not eligible for any Tonys. But it did win.
Wait, why is that? Because it wasn't on Broadway? Like, what? Is that true? Like, you have to be on Broadway to get nominated for a Tony? I didn't know that.
Or at least be off. I mean, closer to off Broadway.
Talk about gatekeeping.
Right. Let's see. It won several awards, though, in the 1982-83 season. Won the Drama Desk Award for Outstanding Musical, the New York Drama Critics Circle Award for Best Musical, the Outer Critics Circle Award. Let's see. Oh, and this is where it says Howard Ashman wrote in the introduction to the acting edition of the libretto. So basically the script that they send out to other companies that will be performing it. It satirizes many things. It's coming directly from him. It satirizes many things. Science fiction, B-movies, musical comedy itself, and even the Faust legend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
And so then it was moved, like I said, to the Orpheum, which actually is off-Broadway, and moved to West End, where Cameron McIntosh
Now, can you
produced.
be off-Broadway and nominated for a Tony?
See, I don't know. But it wasn't until after its initial run that it moved to the Orpheum. So the thing is, I thought that maybe you don't have to be on Broadway, because wasn't Hadestown off-Broadway, and it was nominated for Tonys? Yeah, I don't think it was nominated for Tonys until it moved to
This is fascinating.
Broadway.
We will report back, everybody,
in
like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
if not longer. No promises. Let's see. Oh, so another question for you. I saw a picture of Ellen Greene performing alongside Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes.
Was he Seymour in the Broadway production?
I don't think so.
Or was that just like a one-off?
That was just like a concert, I think, that they
I just thought it was interesting to have Jake Gyllenhaal. There's nothing wrong with it, but I have to imagine Ellen Greene would have been she has to be like what in her 50s at this point in
Yeah,
this
or
picture.
60s, yeah.
I'm guessing it was like early 2000s.
This is only a few years ago.
Oh, okay, so it was
yeah.
really recent.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that they just brought her back to like reprise her role and like had someone come fill in for Seymour.
Right,
Yeah,
because usually when it's a big celebrity, it's not a full run.
Yeah, and I think this was just like a concert where they were having her come perform.
Sure, but we love Jake Gyllenhaal. We'd love to see him do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of, do you have any recast ideas?
I have a few.
Okay.
So the fun thing about this movie is for Seymour, really just about any mediocre white dude can do it. They don't even have to be white.
Seymour's supposed to be an everyman.
Really, they don't even have to be a dude. Like, Seymour could be anyone. So naturally, I went with Russell Crowe. Kidding. No, and I'm not saying that these guys are mediocre by any means, nor is Rick Moranis. But my first thought was John Mulaney.
Okay.
I love what John Mulaney's been doing on SNL and his latest appearances. He always does a big musical number. You can tell he's a real fan.
The refreshing thing about this one is that they're not required to be, these characters don't have to be like 17.
No, they do. I know. That really is such a relief.
Yeah.
My other thought was Josh Gad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he would bring I think he could bring that like klutzy goofball kind of element to it.
Yeah.
What about you for Seymour?
For Seymour, I thought that Nick Jonas would be a good choice.
Nick Jonas. I mean, if they can like make him look
Nerd him up a little bit.
Yeah, and it's going to require more than just a pair of glasses.
But I could see him fitting into that like sort of meek role.
I don't know. Nick Jonas really, I think, did a lot to establish himself as a grown-up. Like, I'm an adult. I'm a sexy guy.
Totally.
I'm not a Disney kid
But I don't think
anymore.
that he takes himself particularly seriously.
No, probably not.
But also, you've seen the Sarah Lee sketch from SNL with Harry Styles.
Yeah.
I think Harry would be good based on his characterization in that.
I mean, okay. Harry Styles is a beautiful man. I'm not saying no, but can it be done? Can they do that?
I don't know. Like you said, it doesn't require much on the part of Seymour. I mean, it does, but it doesn't.
I'm just saying, there's a big leap between Josh Gad and Harry Styles. But listen, I'd watch it.
Yeah.
I'd watch it. I would entertain it.
And also, okay, so as far as Audrey goes, it's been known that Ariana Grande loves to sing Suddenly Seymour.
She has the voice to be Audrey too. Like, she can do
Audrey
that.
won.
Yeah, not to be Audrey also.
Yeah.
She has the right voice.
Yeah.
Like, she can do that really high pitched kind of soft.
Like her her voice from Nickelodeon that she did.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that Ariana could do it. I also said...
and there's like a million YouTube videos of her singing it. She obviously loves the musical.
Yeah, and I like that.
Yeah.
I like when people love the work, and you can really tell.
Yeah.
Did you have any others for Audrey 1?
I did have a couple of ideas. Well, okay, so I think that the idea of... So I saw this performance, and I don't know if it was from like a limited run that happened recently, but of MJ Rodriguez as Audrey.
Oh, right. Yeah, you sent that to me.
And I love the idea of Audrey as a trans woman of color. And like,
for those that don't know, MJ Rodriguez is one of the lead stars on Pose.
Yes.
I think that show just ended, but she was in all 4 seasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great actress.
Great actress.
Great singer.
Yes.
So, and especially during Suddenly Seymour, like the girl that's inside me, like I watched it, I started crying. So I love the idea of rethinking Audrey in that way.
I think the hardest thing about Audrey is finding someone that pairs well with Seymour.
Yeah.
Because
I didn't necessarily think the pairing of them in that performance was great.
Right.
It was more like the radical thought of Audrey being a trans woman.
Yes. But again, like, even with Audrey, I don't think you necessarily have to look or be...
anything.
You really don't.
Yeah.
These are all very easily accessible characters.
archetypal characters.
I was thinking, in addition to Ariana, because that's really where my mind went first.
Yeah.
The next place I went was Anna Faris.
Oh.
I mean, come on. The house bunny, like, that is her. I think she can.
Yeah.
I don't know. I believe she can.
Yeah.
I want to believe she can.
I bet, you know, who I bet would be good would be Renee Zellweger.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Right?
I could see that.
Because she can sing and also can pull off the meek sort of thing. Mm-hmm. We've talked about Keke Palmer before. I bet she would be great.
Yeah, put her in everything.
Yeah.
She's the news and day. Just kidding.
Who is the actress from Glee who played Mercedes? Shit.
I haven't seen it in so long.
Anyway, she recently did a performance.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Is her name Amber Riley?
Amber Riley, yes.
Yes.
She recently did a performance of Defying Gravity.
Yeah, she's in something coming out soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a great singer.
But I was, she can sing. She would be great.
Let's be real, all the Glee kids were pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as vocalists, not...
Did you watch the Spring Awakening documentary?
No, I didn't. Look, I'm not a Lea Michele hater. I almost feel bad for her, the way that everybody hates her and the way that everybody... Like, instead of celebrating when Beanie Feldstein got cast and Hello Dolly, everyone's reaction was just like, oh no, Lea Michele didn't get it.
So mad.
I know. Yeah. I want to believe, and I did hear those awful stories about how she treated other people on the set of Glee. Yeah. Who knows if any of them are real.
And she was also a child.
Sure.
And she had just come off of this, like, huge Broadway success. I'm sure she was a brat.
All I'm saying is I really like Jonathan Groff, and they are best friends, and I trust Jonathan Groff's judgment.
Yes.
I do.
Even if he has inspected her with a desk lamp.
Yeah, that was a story where Lea Michele straight up said that she showed Jonathan Groff her, quote, full vagina because he had never seen one before.
Yeah, they thought that it would make their performance in Spring Awakening more believable if he had seen her vagina.
When you look at a man, you can just tell. You can just tell if he's inspected one or not. Yeah, with a desk lamp. Oh, God. It's like very gynecological, right. You know? Like, it's weird. So for casting this movie, when it comes to Audrey, you're going to love this. It makes so much sense. They originally asked Cyndi Lauper to do it.
Oh, that does, yeah.
I know. Wouldn't that have been fantastic?
That would have been, yeah.
Oh, I would have loved it. But she turned it down. It was also rumored that they contacted Madonna and Barbara Streisand. Rumors, just rumors. Green ultimately landed the role because they had seen her on stage and decided she was the right person for it. Mm-hmm. I have a couple ideas kind of for the dentist, but that is where I didn't think of anybody for Mishnik or Audrey too. For Oren, I was thinking Michael Ian Black or like maybe even Bill Hader.
Mm-hmm. Someone who's like a new comedy legend.
I mean, I would say Bill Hader, and I think Bill Hader can bring the same sort of like wacky and also physical side of comedy to
and kind of
Oren
the
that
same,
Steve Martin does.
Kind of like the same level cameo as like mid-'80s Steve Martin would be.
Yeah, I mean maybe a little less recognizable. Mm-hmm. But I don't know who I would. I don't think you really can come up with like a modern day Steve Martin equivalent. Like, number one, we still have Steve Martin.
Right.
Steve Martin is the Steve Martin of today. Yeah. Number two, I mean, and I love Bill Hader. I really do. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't equate him to Steve Martin.
Like Fred Armisen, or like
Fred Armisen is
Fred Armisen could be the Bill Murray character.
Yeah, yes, I could see that for sure, but not Oren. Mm-hmm. No, he's not like animated enough.
Oren could be like Andy Samberg.
Okay. Is he mean enough?
He could be, but is Steve Martin mean enough?
Yes. I I don't
I think
know.
that's part of the fun of Steve Martin playing that character is that he's usually like this like goofy guy.
Sure.
And I feel like Andy Samberg could bring that same sort of...
Andy Samberg has definitely got the goofiness for it. Okay, yeah, I'd be willing to watch it.
Like the sight gag of him with like the black wig. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that could be good.
Yeah.
That could be good. Let me see if I have any more fun trivia. We're making great time on today's episode.
I know, it's fantastic.
Okay, so speaking of casting, a remake was announced in January 2020, and they were negotiations for, this is not great, Taron Egerton to be Seymour, which, like, just no. I like him as an actor, but
kind of the definition of some guy.
Yeah, just some guy. Just get some guy in here. Now, he did play Elton John in Rocket Man, not a movie I loved. Was it a bad performance? No. Can he sing? Yes, but he's just some guy.
Yeah.
For Audrey 1, they were talking with Scarlett Johansson, which doesn't surprise me, but would be boring.
Yeah.
Honestly, that I'm just bored.
Has production been halted? Has they not?
Yeah, it's been postponed indefinitely, so it's probably not going to happen. But here's who they got for Audrey 2. Only person confirmed, Billy Porter.
Ah, that would have been great.
I know. Yeah. Also from Pose and countless other things. Wonderful singer. And this would have been good too. There were rumors that they were talking to Chris Evans to be the dentist.
Oh,
he would have been great, and he talks all the time about how he really wants to do a musical.
Yeah.
Somebody let Chris Evans do a freaking musical and put Jake Gyllenhaal in it too.
Yeah, just for us.
Let's see. This isn't a cameo, but in addition to having Heather Henson in the movie, Brian Henson, he was one of the operators of Audrey 2. Mm-hmm. Didn't he sort of like take over for Jim Henson?
Yes.
Yeah.
In production-wise and voicing, right?
Some of them.
Like Kermit, yeah.
I would think so. Let's see. I don't think I have really any other big. This is it. The 1960 movie, not the 1986. I think the 1960 movie inspired a very short-lived Saturday morning cartoon that aired on Fox in 1991. It was called Little Shop.
Really?
Yes. I read it was based off the 1961 because the director, Corman is his last name. He was a consultant on the cartoon series. In this one, the plant did not eat people, and Seymour was like a 13-year-old kid. I don't have any more details for you.
So then what's the point?
They work in a flower shop and there's a living plant and they're buddies. It only lasted for 13 episodes. I don't even know if they all aired.
Okay, so here is the difference between the stage musical ending and the ending of the original movie, the 1960 movie.
Oh, right. So, okay, yes. In the movie, in the 1986 movie, they screened it before test audiences. Test audiences hated the original ending. Mm-hmm. So that's when they went back and gave it the happy ending that we see.
Yeah, so in the stage musical, it ends with Orrin, Mushnick, Audrey, and Seymour all being eaten by Audrey 2. And the three girls report that Audrey 2's progeny continues to consume people. Like the plan has worked.
Yeah, because when the agent shows up, he basically just tells Seymour, I'm doing this. I don't need your permission, and I've already started making them.
Yeah.
It's too late.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess... and right before that, when Patrick, the agent, confronts Seymour, it's really dark. Like, Seymour is on the roof about to kill himself.
Yeah.
He's about to jump.
So the original ending was related much more closely to the musical itself's ending?
Yes.
Okay. So in the 1960 movie, Mushnick and Audrey survive, and the plant's carnivorous activities are discovered when its flowers bloom with the faces of its victims, including Seymour imprinted on them. And the musical references this ending in its finale, in which the plant's 4 victims' faces are seen as blooming flowers.
Let's go back to the original ending of this movie.
Yeah.
basically we see that the plant wins. The plant does take over. There's world domination.
Yeah.
I believe in the very last scenes, we see like the army essentially is fighting the big Audrey 2 that's like overtaken the Statue of Liberty. And at the very, very end, it's supposed to appear as though it's bursting through the screen to eat the audience.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So, I mean, you know,
people didn't like it. People like their happy endings.
Yeah, I like the happy ending. I mean,
I love the happy ending. I thought having the little plant in the garden was kind of like dumb.
it's just a nod to how it.
I think to the
would've
B movie,
ended,
like you were saying, like it's a satire of all these different things, and to me, that's very much like a B movie trope. What's an example? Like the ending of Carrie, where her hand, like it's one of those like, oh, the good guys won, but did they?
Yes.
Yeah, one of those things.
Yeah.
But anyways, overall, I think it is clear we both loved this movie.
Yeah, I love it.
Would watch again. Probably will.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we can go ahead and say, because I know you are so excited for it, our next episode for the 90s, would you like to say what it is?
Yes. Well, yeah. It basically like the only Andrew Lloyd Webber musical that I like. We're going to do Evita.
I've heard so many good things. I am willing to be convinced that there is a good Andrew Lloyd Webber musical movie out there.
Do you know who hates this film adaptation? Patti LuPone.
Oh, well.
Because she originated the role and then they gave it to Madonna, which
How could she not?
Lots of musical theater people were pissed, and Argentinian people.
I'm sure Patti LuPone was very insulted. Because let's be real, Madonna's stunt casting.
Yes.
Come on. But I've heard she's very good in it.
She does, yes, she does do a great job.
We'll see.
And it's still my stance that Ray of Light is better musically than a lot of her, and vocally than a lot of her other albums, because she made it right after making Evita, when I'm sure she had tons of vocal training.
Interesting. Okay, well, we'll see about that.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, so we will be back our next episode in the 90s, Evita. We hope that you guys enjoyed the 80s. Once again, you can find us at The Hills Are Alive on Instagram.
At The Hills Are Alive Pod.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, once again, you can find us at The Hills Are Alive Pod. On Instagram, and
if you enjoy what you hear,
leave us
a good review.
If you didn't enjoy it, don't
leave a review at all.
Don't do that. Or do. That's fine. All right. Thanks everyone. We'll be back soon.
Yeah, and thanks to We Own This Town, and we'll see you guys soon.